I'm sorry to bother you this late. I think this used to be my address.
I bought this place 2 years ago.
From an estate sale. Okay.
Mommy,
Come in. Both of you.
Before we continue, tell us in the comments, where are you watching from? Daniel Reyes hadn't planned on opening his door to strangers that night. He hadn't planned on much of anything since Clara died. Just work, pick up his son from school, reheat something, sleep, repeat. But the woman on his porch had a look he recognized, the look of someone who'd run out of places to go. Her name was Mara Whitfield. The little girl was Nora. Daniel learned this over tea he didn't remember making, in a kitchen that suddenly felt too quiet for 3 strangers, and his own son, Oliver, peering around the hallway corner in his pajamas. "This house," Mara said, turning the mug in her hands without drinking from it, "belonged to my grandmother. I grew up here. When she passed, the estate handled everything before I was in a place to deal with paperwork." Daniel didn't press. He recognized grief when it sat across the table from him. Instead, he asked the practical question, where were they staying tonight? Mara's silence answered before she did. "We were staying with my sister. It didn't work out." Oliver, 7 years old and unfiltered the way only children are, wandered fully into the kitchen and looked at Nora with the frank curiosity of someone deciding whether a new person was interesting. "Is that your rabbit? He's missing an ear." Nora held it tighter. "His name is Biscuit. He lost it in the move." "I have a truck with no wheels," Oliver said, as if this settled something important between them. Daniel watched his son do what children do effortlessly, make room for someone without asking why they needed it. He made a decision then, the kind he'd have run past Clara if she were still here. "There's a guest room upstairs. It's not much, but it's warm. Stay tonight. We'll figure out the rest tomorrow." Mara's composure cracked slightly, just at the edges. "You don't know us." "No," Daniel agreed, "but I know what it looks like when someone's got nowhere else to go. I've been there." He didn't explain what he meant. Not yet. The next morning, Daniel found Mara already awake, sitting at the kitchen table with the same folded paper from the night before, smoothed flat now. He recognized the letterhead before she said anything. A hospital in the next county over. "You don't have to explain," he said. "I want to," Mara replied. "Nora has a heart condition. Nothing life-threatening if it's managed, but it requires monitoring, specialists, medication that isn't cheap. My ex-husband stopped paying support 8 months ago. I lost my job trying to keep up with her appointments. My sister has 3 kids of her own and a husband who made it clear we'd overstayed by day 2. She said it without asking for pity, just laying out facts the way someone does when they've told the story enough times to strip the emotion out of it. Or tried to. Daniel sat down across from her. "What did you do before?" "Accounting. Small firm. I was good at it. I run a contracting business. Small, but I need someone who can handle the books, invoicing, payroll, the parts I'm bad at." He said it plainly, no grand gesture in his voice. "It's real work, real pay. Not charity." Mara studied him like she was checking for a catch. "Why would you do that for someone you met yesterday?" Daniel looked toward the window, where Oliver and Nora were already in the backyard, Oliver showing her the wheelless truck with total seriousness. "Because 6 months after Clara died, a neighbor I barely knew showed up with dinner every night for 2 weeks without being asked. Didn't make a thing of it, just did it, until I could stand up straight again. I never got the chance to pay that forward properly. Maybe this is it." Over the following weeks, something shifted quietly in the house. Mara took the job, and she was sharp, reorganizing Daniel's chaotic invoicing within days, catching an error that had cost him thousands. Nora and Oliver became inseparable, trading stuffed animals and secrets with the seriousness only children bring to friendship. And Daniel noticed things he hadn't let himself notice in 2 years. The sound of Mara laughing at something Oliver said, unguarded and real. The way she thanked him for small things, like she still couldn't quite believe kindness came without conditions attached. One evening, after the kids were asleep, Mara found him on the porch. "You never asked what happened with my ex. Why he stopped paying, stopped calling. Wasn't my business unless you wanted to make it mine. She sat beside him, closer than she needed to. He said I made Nora's illness my whole identity, that I stopped being fun. Her voice wavered, just slightly. Maybe I did stop being fun. It's hard to be fun when you're scared all the time. Daniel didn't fill the silence with reassurance. He just let it sit, and then said, "You're not just her mother's fear, Mara. I've watched you this month. You're funny. You're sharp. You made Oliver laugh so hard yesterday he choked on his cereal." She laughed at that, soft and surprised, and for a moment neither of them looked away. The ex-husband showed up on a Saturday, unannounced, parked crookedly outside like he still had a claim to the driveway. Daniel watched from the window as the man's voice rose on the porch. Not violent, just cutting, the practiced cruelty of someone who knew exactly which words would land. "You're living off some guy now? That's rich, Mara. Real rich." Daniel stepped out, calm, hands visible, voice level. "This conversation needs to happen somewhere that isn't in front of the kids." The man sized him up. "This isn't your family." "No," Daniel said, "but right now it's under my roof, and I'd like everyone to keep their voice down for the sake of 2 kids inside who don't need to hear this." There was no shove, no thrown punch, no crowd gathering to cheer, just Daniel standing steady, refusing to be baited, and the ex-husband eventually running out of venom to spend on an audience that wouldn't flinch. He left with a slammed car door, and nothing resolved except that Mara hadn't had to face it alone. Later, Mara found Daniel in the garage, fixing the very truck Oliver had complained about for weeks. "You didn't have to do that." "I know." He didn't look up from the wheel he was attaching. Didn't do it to be a hero. Did it because that's what you do when people you care about are being hurt. "People you care about," she repeated quietly. He finally met her eyes. "I think you already knew that." The following spring, Nora's cardiologist cleared her for a normal, active childhood with routine check-ins instead of constant monitoring, the kind of news that arrives without fanfare but changes everything. Mara had saved enough from her new job to consider her own apartment nearby, an option she raised gently one evening, giving Daniel space to have an honest answer. "You could," he said. "Or you could stay. Not because you need to, because I'd like you to." It wasn't a proposal, not yet. It was simpler than that, an invitation, freely given, the same way he'd given one on a rainy porch months before. Mara didn't answer right away. She looked toward the yard, where Oliver was teaching Nora to ride a bike without training wheels, both of them shrieking with the kind of joy that doesn't need translation. "I'd like that too," she finally said. That summer, the 4 of them planted a small garden along the side of the house. Nothing fancy, just tomatoes and herbs. Nora insisted on watering every day. Biscuit, the one-eared rabbit, sat on the porch railing, a permanent fixture now, watching over a home that had quietly become theirs. Daniel never made a big announcement about what they'd become. He didn't need to. Some families are built loudly, in a single dramatic moment. Others are built the way this one was, one small kindness, repeated, until it became something permanent.